Now I think John Husted, Senator Husted, will introduce his witness.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have the opportunity and the honor to join all of you in celebrating National School Choice Week. It is my honor, though, to introduce a fellow Ohioan and a witness, and someone I've known for a while in working on education policy in Ohio, Cris Gulacy-Worrel. And she is a first-generation Cuban American with an incredible story to share on the role of education and school choice, specifically the role it played in her life. Ms. Gulacy-Worrel is a graduate of Columbus State University, or a college, I should say, and Malone University in Ohio before later getting her master's degree from Northwestern. Ms. Gulacy-Worrel is has dedicated her professional life to improving alternative education options for Ohioans, including time at the Ohio Department of Education, and most recently, she served as the vice president and part of the founding team for Oakmont Education, a nationally recognized network of dropout recovery public charter schools serving over 5,500 non-traditional learners across Ohio, Iowa, and Michigan. And I have visited one of her schools in Cleveland, maybe others, but I most recently visited the one in Cleveland. Oakmont provides a comprehensive academic model with an individualized, self-paced program that is responsive to each student's needs. Oakmont offers 15 different industrial credentials, including skilled trades, community health and wellness, and business and entrepreneurship. This training focuses on providing real-world experience for in-demand jobs in essential fields. This training empowers graduates to earn a sustainable living wage in high-demand careers without college debt. Thank you, Cris, for joining us today, and I will just tell you that she genuinely cares about the future of our children, and particularly those who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Chairman Cassidy, Ranking Member Sanders, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I want to thank Senator Husted for the introduction and for being a tireless champion of school choice, first in Ohio and now on the national stage. I'd also like to thank Jeannie Allen for her guidance and support through this process. My name is Cris Gulacy-Worrel. I'm a founding member and vice president of Oakmont Education. My mother fled communist Cuba with nothing but the clothes on her back, and my father spent his career as an electrician at General Motors. They taught me that in America, where you start doesn't have to be where you end. But my path wasn't linear. As a teenager, I struggled, and I learned firsthand what happens when systems fail the young people that they are supposed to serve. I know what it feels like to be overlooked, underestimated, and failed. And that is exactly why I do this work. At Oakmont Education, we serve over 5,500 students across Ohio, Iowa, and Michigan, young people who are overage, undercredited, and written off. Through our career technical education model, students earn industry-recognized credentials and engage in work-based learning that connects them directly to employers in their community. Last year, we graduated 1,309 students, and we've placed over 4,500 young people directly into the workforce over the last 3 years alone. But Oakmont doesn't exist in isolation. We are part of an education landscape that is rewriting what's possible for students and families across this country. And that's what I'm here to talk about, what school choice really is. For far too long, we've been told school choice is about ESAs or public charter schools. It's not. What we're really talking about is educational plurality, a system with room for many models and many pathways to success. Schools, yes, but also EdTech platform, workforce partners, micro schools, and advocacy organizations fighting for families ignored for too long. This space is far more diverse than most people realize, and it's growing every day. As a Center for Ed Reform Fellow and YAS Prize awardee, I had the privilege of seeing this national landscape up close, meeting founders, visiting schools, and watching students transform. When states empower people and organizations to meet kids where they are, everyone wins. The innovative leaders in this space are sector agnostic and student-centered. They don't ask what type of school a child needs, they ask what the child needs and they build it. Look at Sail Future in Florida, putting foster youth on international sailing expeditions while they earn diplomas, Coast Guard credentials, and something much harder to measure, hope. There's Arizona Autism Charter Schools, proving neurodiverse learners don't just cope, but thrive when someone builds a school designed for them. Chesterton Schools Network is a network of 70 Catholic high schools across the country that are affordable, parent-led, and offering families an option that simply didn't even exist 15 years ago. In the Rural Schools Innovation Zone, 5 Texas public districts came together to share career academies so rural students have the same access to opportunity as kids in Houston or Dallas. And finally, Stimuli Studios, who use AI-powered gaming to connect students to career pathways and beyond. And these are just the tip of the iceberg. I'm also honored to serve as the board chair of Freedom to Choose Schools, a Black and Brown-led advocacy organization co-founded by Dr. Howard Fuller and Dr. Steve Perry. We support families navigating their options and stand with the people building what they know their communities need. Because at the end of the day, it's not about which schools families choose, it's about having the option to choose at all. What ties all of us together across sectors, across states, across models is one thing: students matter more than systems. The opportunity we have here is rare, a chance to support an education marketplace that truly supports every child, not just the ones who fit in the box. But that is never going to happen if we stay in our silos. No single sector, organization, or political party can do this alone. The good news is we don't have to start from scratch. We have incredible people building solutions for decades, It's time we join them. I believe this moment demands all of us. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.
So the story I can tell you in our state is one of success. It doesn't mean it's a magic cure. Educating students is hard, particularly if they come from difficult backgrounds. There are wonderful public schools that I could also hold up and talk about the amazing things that they are doing too. Any educator, no matter where they come from, in a public school, a private school, charter school, it's fantastic. We love the ones that innovate. But we also know that there are pockets of great despair in education. And so that brings me to ask Cris Gulacy-Worrel, who I know have known for a long time. You are mostly focused at your charter schools on children who have dropped out, who literally aren't in the system, that no one cares necessarily about them. It's no one's job to, but you've created this network of schools to try to help them. And would you tell us a little bit more about how your schools work at targeting that dropout population?
Thank you, Senator, for the question, if I may. Our average student is over 18 years of age, reading at a 4th or 5th grade reading level, and has attended 3 or more high schools before coming to us. So students that are outliers outside of the system. And I think when we're talking about public districts or any district or any school, we have to remind ourselves quickly before that our districts that are failing students were redlined and designed to do so and are functioning as a result of that historical redlining so many decades ago. And we're seeing school choice from the very beginning when a family can opt to buy a home that is $350,000 in a, quote, good school district versus a family that is kind of boxed out of that neighborhood school. And the neighborhood school they are given is one of failure and continued failure. So at Oakmont Education, we not only take students who are outside of the continuum of education and who have been failed time and time over, but we have district partnerships because our district partners realize the continuum of education. I've never met an educator who wants students to fail. I've never met an educator who says, I really want this kid not to graduate. But we are humans and our systems are taxed to a place where not every student can get what they need in the system they're in. So our school exists to make sure that there is a place where we meet students where they are. You are 21 years old or you're 20 years old and you have 4 credits, you're not gonna go sit in a freshman classroom with other young people that are 14 and 15 years old. We're gonna meet you where you are. You know, a third of our students are parents themselves. They have jobs. They have critical decisions to make. So we make a place that is fully available to them from start to finish, wrap around, therapists in each of our building, available people to navigate what's next for them in life.
The amazing thing about what school choice does and what Cris is talking about is that every child has a different background. They have a different need.
Yes.
And we can't expect public schools to meet all of those needs. They do a great job in many cases, but there are also unique pathways to serve the unique needs of every student. School choice allows that to happen. In this particular case, Mr. Chairman, these are students that the system forgot. And what Oakmont does is try to bring them back in and give them a chance. Thank you.
But again, one of the criticisms of school choice is that you end up selecting based upon demographics, socioeconomic class, et cetera. But your school seems by definition almost to seek out folks who had come from a more difficult background. Is that true?
That is true, Chairman. And it is basically the outliers, kids in the margins, kids that have dropped out and are functionally nowhere. And every kid that drops out, which is every 26 seconds in America, 1.2 million kids last year.
Thank you.
Costs our country over $300,000 over their lifetime. So last year alone, that was almost $400 billion in dropouts.
So what's your graduation rate?
We don't have cohorts, but we have placement rates. So we want you to be graduated and placed, and in that placement, which is employed, enlisted, enrolled in college for a year or more, and that percentage with our students is 87%.
87% of people that you've selected for having already dropped out.
Already dropped out. Those kids came to us, and 87% of our students that graduate with us are placed, and we track and follow and support them for a year because nobody supports non-college bound youth in America. We only support college bound youth.
Now, let me just, kids need jobs. There's nothing like a job to prepare somebody for life, right? And I'm struck, you spoke of the St. George School in Maine giving hands-on learning. So again, what does your school doing differently? When I was in high school long ago, we had, I think, a technical class or something like that. But it sounds like what you're describing is something more than that, something more than just an hour a day, but rather something more intensive so that when the person graduates, they actually have a job.
Correct, Chairman. Fully immersed, work-based learning. We approach the work with a sector strategy approach, which is more of a Department of Labor. We go into the communities, into the regions, and speak with our employer partners and say, there's a disconnect between what education does and what employers want. And we bridge that disconnect, and we go to the employers and we say, what does it look like for an entry-level person?
I get that. So how do you get the young person to agree to pursue that path?
It's you come to an Oakmont school, you are here, because everybody should be doing career tech. My two sons that are college-bound should have been doing career tech. My youngest child is doing career tech. Everybody should be doing career tech. Long gone are the days of, you did career tech, you're not going to college. Career tech is preparing our students and young people for the real world. And what better place to potentially fail at something and not like it than I want to do construction. I'm out welding and it's cold. I don't like it. Guess what? I can fail freely because it's not costing me anything. I'm at a free public charter school. I can fail and learn these things.
Ms. Gulacy-Worrel, in your testimony, you talked about career technical education model at Oakmont. How do you recruit your students and work with their families to kind of navigate this career technical education model? And how are the students then connected with employers for training and placement?
Thank you, Senator. We typically don't need to recruit. We have a lot of partners in districts. We have a lot of word of mouth and a lot of relationships with the justice systems in the different areas that we are in. And our students are immersed fully. So a week in academics, a week flipping over a week into work-based actual learning. So building homes with Habitat and getting buy-in for the career tech is very easy. And our career tech students, by and large, are attending school significantly more often and regularly without absences because they feel like they have a purpose, and they are meeting these employers, and they feel for the first time after being told what a loser you are, how bad you are, finally being told, I'm not really good at math, but I can really read this tape measure, or like one of my colleagues, Dr. Farley, always says, like, I don't know math, but I can pour a footer. Well, there's all kinds of moments of math and ELA and all of these real moments. And even my almost 16-year-old son says, I'm so bored. There's nothing relevant. And that's the number one reason kids drop out of school, is their perceived lack of relevance. So we just make sure to expose kids to the reality of what the world is that our students have already been living. So career tech is a game changer. Everybody should be doing it. We should be doing it earlier, regardless of where kids are going, college, military, or anywhere else. When we're doing career technical education, again, we're a network of public charter schools, but I think that it can be done and should be done in all types of environments, not just like public traditionals or public charters. But I think that we also need to nod to the experts in the field. So when we are having these career technical education like courses, we need to have experts of their craft. My father was an electrician. I don't need a 25-year-old person who just went to go to school to be a teacher, which my son is doing, to come and teach electrical trades, because they're not going to be able to do that. So I just think that making sure that we are being true to what it is instead of trying to make it what we would want it to be if it were a perfect situation. I just think there's a lot to learn from Germany and Switzerland and their apprenticeship models, and placement. So getting kids into the jobs, not just like learning a skill and doing it in a classroom or with 3D printers, but in the field. If you're in healthcare, you should be in a facility. You should be there hearing sounds, having smells, having the experiences to see if you can really hack it. Because unfortunately, a lot of our students don't qualify to go to their traditional district career tech centers because they don't have the grades, they don't have the attendance, they don't have the transportation, and those often have wait lists. So making it more accessible to all, I think, is really, really important.
Great. Ms. Worley, if you have school choice, and I'm in Alabama, you tell me how I'm on transition from school choice to workforce development. How do I do that? I mean, how does that work? How does school choice, and how do we understand the significance of making that transition from school choice area?
Well, I think, Senator, you have an incredible opportunity in Alabama to do it right from the beginning, with all of the options that are a part of the school choice continuum. If you go into them, it doesn't just have to be schools that are for dropout students, should have career technical education and work-based learning opportunities. And going to the employers in those regions where you have schools, which is everywhere, is, I think, the first way to start that, and to see what the high demand careers are coming in Alabama. And
so what grade area would you start transforming from school choice to workforce development? Would you wait till the 12th grade? Would you start in the 9th? Would you start in the 6th? How would you do that?
If I had a magic wand and we could do it, I believe early exposure, a passport of skills, a way that kids can start to learn what it looks like, what it feels like, what they want to explore, and then build on that passport of skills and understanding early in elementary school through middle school, and make it more tangible and weave it into, as they go into high school. It shouldn't be the first time in a junior year that they step foot in a major employer. It just shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Gulacy-Worrel, I guess my first question, I'm still really worried about rural America, that if some of these students are doing school choice, how do the public schools survive? And I'm looking for that win-win opportunity.
Senator, thank you for the question. I think that if we want to really rise to the occasion that we're speaking of, and we want world-class opportunities for our American students, including work-based learning, career technical education, for our rural students as well as for our students in our urban cores, we have to address funding and making sure that the funding is available for our rural districts to potentially come together, form consortiums to offer the world-class career technical education opportunities that they have. Just because a choice comes into a rural community doesn't mean that the rural schools close. It should be a part of that continuum. And if we want to make sure that the opportunities are even for all students, we really do need to evaluate and make sure that the funding opportunities are fair and equal to support students in rural America. Because if you take a school and say, this school's going to offer all career tech, this school's not. You could have all students want to go to the other school with the career tech, but there needs to be a continuum of cooperation when you're bringing something new into those communities. We work in rural communities as well as urban communities, and we've not seen a district shut down as a result of that. I would just really urge us to not be distracted by conversations that I think take the focus away from students and achievement and literacy. We know that if a kid can't read by 4th grade, they're 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. We have all the things we need, and I feel like if we lean more into that and listen to parents, listen to students, and be responsive, and not be responsive to the systems, but be responsive to the people that we're tasked in giving a world-class education to, which are students. A lot of times we don't even talk to students or the young people that this is directly impacting on what their experiences are like. So I think that as we move forward, we're going to have to all come together and realize that it's a continuum and not siloed, that all of us are necessary for all students to be able to succeed. And when we start to silo off into our adult little corners of the space, kids suffer. And adults may not seem like they're suffering, but eventually we pay the price for failing students. And we're seeing that right now, and we're going to continue to see it unless we change what we're doing. So thank you for the opportunity to be here.